Escape room workers of Reddit, what's the most absurd thing players have done? I interviewed for a job at an escape room. They told me that one of their standard instructions you must tell every group is not to stick things in electrical outlets because too many people did it. Okay, so are they trying to find a secret thing hidden inside of an electrical outlet? Or do they think like maybe they can just start a fire and burn the wall down and escape that way? I had a group come in. I noticed they had been drinking a little, but seemed mostly fine, so I let them into the room and start the clock. They were just wandering around. At the half-hour mark, they were laying on the floor and rolling around. They didn't do any harm to the room. I don't remember if they even solved one puzzle. When I let them out after an hour, they claimed it was fun, but they didn't really do anything. And did they remember it the next day? I don't know. I suppose there's cheaper ways of having a party like that. They could have just gotten drunk and locked themselves in the bathroom. Escape room enthusiast here. We spent far more time than I care to admit trying to figure out what the heck the numbers written in Sharpie on the underside of the rug in the middle of the room meant. Turns out they were an inventory number from the thrift store the designer bought the thing from, and nobody else had ever noticed them before. We still won, but that wasted a lot of our time. Alright, I'll just come out and say I'm not really a fan of escape rooms, because, at least to me, they don't seem like you were actually trying to solve the problem of trying to get out of a room, because if that were the case, you'd just do it any means necessary. It more just seems like one big, oh, just solve this riddle that somebody put out for you. I once had a group of drunk guys go in, and they ran through their allotted hints pretty quickly. They asked for another hint, and we said over the speakers that they were out of hints. One of the guys threatened to start taking off his clothes until we gave another hint. So what I'm gathering from these is that your problem-solving skills go way down when you're intoxicated. In the Netherlands, there's this prison escape room where everyone is a prisoner and you have to escape prison. It is done in an actual ancient prison. There are about 300 participants and 85 actors. Most prison guards and some prisoners. They have over 15 storylines which you can follow, and there are other inmates which will lead those storylines and send you one quest. Coming back to the question, at the beginning they warned everyone that no physical contact is allowed, because during the first time people would actually threat each other to get more money, and guards have been attacked. Also, they had warned people that you weren't supposed to try climbing the 50-foot high prison wall. Yeah, see what I mean? When people are put into situations like this, they treat it like it's real life, like they are actually trying to escape. And so I think some people can't really differentiate the real thing from just playing the game. My mate worked at an escape room, and he told me that some guys tried to smash a hole in the wall to get out because it was an Alcatraz-themed room. Oh, well, they probably got a really good time at least. First thing I had to learn working at an escape room. Everything, yes everything, in the room was going to be dismantled, pulled on, or messed with in some way. Have a screwdriver in the room? Maybe there's a clue in the light switch cover. Black light? Must have to take it completely apart. TV for clues? Must have to unplug or change inputs. And anything not nailed down is bound to be broken. Well, when people are so used to having to try every little thing they can think of, there's really no limits when you're out of ideas. One guy pissed on the wall, thinking the plaster was snow. Okay, so the first thing you thought of was just to pee on it? You couldn't have just tried digging through it? One of them believed the clue was inside them. Dang, was this a Saw escape room? Not sure if this counts. I did an escape room with a group of friends. At the end, he found a flash drive which was supposed to be plugged into a computer. We opened the document and there was instructions to print. We got print, and the printer gave us an out of ink error. We assumed this was part of the game and started looking for a magenta cartridge. Then an employee slipped in the room, replaced the cartridge, and told us to hit print again. Apparently it was not part of the game, they just ran out of ink. I mean, it's pretty brave of them to be putting a computer and a printer in an escape room. I wonder how many people took the computer apart. At an escape room near me, they had a group of lads on a stag do. These guys got very drunk and during the escape room thought they could escape via the sewers. They managed to rip out the manhole cover, which was bolted down into concrete. This cover is now permanently broken, as it's too expensive to fix, they said. Advised us to not escape via the sewers. Man, I feel like one of the hardest part of creating an escape rooms at this point is just making sure people don't break the place. I don't work at one, but my coworker went to one last year, and his story was hilarious. He's a really serious guy from Boston, and got talked into going to one with his wife and a few old friends that had come down for vacation. He said as soon as they walked in, he saw a broom that looked completely out of place, so he grabbed it. He thought they needed it at some point. They made it out of the first room. They go into the second room and he still got the broom. He swears it's just too out of place to not be part of the puzzle at some point. They make it through the second room. The third room, they get stuck. They're reading the clues over and over, and he gets fixated on the broom while everyone else is searching the room. He's looking it over, up and down, checking the handle for markings. Mind you, he has a terrible near-sight vision, and checking the bristles. Time is running out and he's arguing with his wife at this point that the broom has the final clue. Time runs up, they walk out, and the crew is just dying laughing at him. Someone left the broom by mistake. Nothing more, nothing less. He carried that broom through 3 rooms. He got a good laugh about it later, but was embarrassed at the time. It's a great story he told the next morning at work. You know, maybe I'm not super familiar with all of these, but I can't really think of what you could discover from a broom. One time, a group was trying to figure out the code to a lock compartment. So this huge guy in the group decided this was a waste of time and tried to rip off the compartment door with his bare hands. He was almost successful, but we stopped him before he could do further damage to the door. He didn't understand what was wrong. Another one happened where a group was handcuffed and they couldn't find the key. The game master was trying to give them clues to find the key, but they still couldn't find it. So one group member thought it would be best to use his leg. There was a table in the room with some items on it. He proceeded to knock over all the items in one kick. That group didn't win. Man, I swear one of these days somebody's gonna just cut their own arm off trying to get out of one of these. I went to one where there were 3 identical rooms, which teams competed in at the same time. If you finished, you then got to watch and listen to the other teams. Our team did pretty well, and we got to watch the other 2 teams try to complete it. Anyway, there was this one lock with a number combination, and you solved it by finding some sheet music in a book, with the 5 notes on it, which corresponded to numbers. This piece was entitled The Key, or something similar, so you knew you needed it for the lock. Anyway, this other team, instead of converting to numbers and putting in the combination, chanted this 5-note tune at the lock. When it did not work, they tried again, then someone else tried. This went on for 10 minutes and got louder and louder. Eventually the game master stepped in and told them it was not going to work. Apparently they were the only team to ever do that. I think some people give too much credit to these games and expecting things to work that way. A group came in that disassembled some of the furniture, like a bed and a desk, ripped some of the wallpaper off the walls, and pulled the heads off some stuffed animals. See, this is the kind of stuff that you feel like you would actually find clues by doing so it probably shouldn't come as a big surprise when somebody tries that. Not an escape room worker, but the second time I went to one, the older told me that once a group decided to smash all the locks because they found the hammer, on which a clue was written. They had to replace all the locks, and it's now a toy hammer. I'd like to say those people were morons, but when we found it, the same idea was discussed in our group. I wonder if these places have good insurance. I feel kind of bad about the time our group unscrewed half the pictures on the wall using a paper clip, since none of us had the sense to think that maybe the pictures being screwed down was a sign we weren't supposed to look behind them. See, how can you even tell what's part of the game and what isn't? My buddy guessed a locks combo, which gave us the final clue, but we had not found the other ones. We ended up solving the room backwards. When the room administrator came in, she had nothing else to say but, "What the heck did you guys do?" This kind of reminds me of taking math classes where they're like, you can't just give the answer, you have to show your work on how you got the answer. You're like, no, I already beat it, just give me the points. Not terribly ridiculous, but me and my husband love them and wanted to share our love with them with our family. When we got out of the escape room, the super amazing explosion room in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the room operator was cracking up laughing. I guess that at one point, in order to get the keys or clues, my over-enthusiastic husband had picked up my 8-year-old nephew by the ankles upside down and was shoving him in barrels. I had no idea he was doing this, but the operator was dying. Maybe I should try to get a job at one of these. They just sound like some fun people-watching experiences. Not a worker, but was with a group of people, and one of them became so overwhelmed that almost immediately after walking in, they spun around and walked right back out again. Well, I guess that sort of means they escaped then, right? So people do dumb stuff in escape rooms constantly, but that's the whole point, and it's usually in good fun. The best part of my old escape room job was that it was literally right next door to a brothel. People would frequently come to our door not realizing that they were one door over from where they wanted to be, and asked, "Hey, how much?" So me in my customer service voice, "Well, it depends on how many people you bring. It's $40 each if you're in a group of 2, and goes down to $32 each if you're in a group of 8. Usually we recommend groups of 4 to 6 people. That seems to be the sweet spot. Their looks of horror will make me laugh forever. Yeah, just bring the whole family over to the local brothel." I was the player here. This was a horror-themed escape house with people in costumes screaming at you from time to time with chainsaws and stuff. We were in a room with an open jail cage, and we knew the next clue was in that cage, but it's pretty obvious that cage was designed to scare the crap out of whoever was inside. I waltzed in, the cage door slammed shut behind me. I took the note and slipped myself out between the bars. We waited for several minutes until I slipped back into the cage so the game could progress. Later on, the workers told us they were really surprised when I had slipped out of their trap, and were trying to figure out what to do next. They're probably just like, we've never had somebody so skinny come in here before. I wonder if I could do that too. I attended a Saw series escape room with my significant other and some randoms, since the room required 4 to 6. We get locked in to start, chained to the fixtures like the dark room scene from the movie. Lights are off. As soon as the thing starts, one of the randos says, "I have a gun in case we need to shoot someone." I thought he was joking. We all did. Eventually the lights turn on, and he pulls out a real gun and sits it in the sink and says, "I'm leaving the gun in the sink in case something happens to me. It's for everyone." Well, that was very thoughtful of him to bring that to share with everybody. I did an escape room with my family, and the workers have to yell at you not to lick the light bulb. This is because some guy thought if he licked the light bulb, the answer would be revealed on the light bulb. The only answer he found was light bulbs are hot and can burn you. I guess all sense just goes out the window for some people. My dad owns an escape room in a small town in Norway, and the weirdest thing someone has done is probably trying to punch the camera. The guy was like 150 centimeters tall and couldn't reach it. After trying 3 times to punch it, he gave up. Well, those were some very interesting escape room stories. I think I've only ever done an escape room once, and like I said, they're not really my thing. But let me know if you guys have any fun stories from them. But man, I can feel myself getting a cold right now. You know when your throat just like progressively starts hurting more and more through the day? And you're like, ah crap, this is probably gonna be a rough few days. So if I don't have a video on Friday, you know why. In fact, I'm recording this earlier than usual just while I still have a voice.